hands. Who is the very first international customer for Russia's top-of-the-line stealth fighter jet? Moscow's staying quiet, but, well, the clues are starting to paint a pretty clear picture. You know, in the world of military aviation, some secrets are just bigger than others. And right now, we've got a real mystery on our hands.
So who is it? I mean, that's the big question, right? For months, analysts have been scratching their heads over this one. Russia has this brand new fifth-generation fighter, the Su-57, and they've landed their first buyer. But here's the thing, they're not telling anyone who it is. So let's dig into the evidence and see what we can find.
All right, so this whole thing kicked off in late 2024. Russia's state arms exporter, this company called Rosaboron Export, puts out a huge announcement. They'd officially signed the first ever export deal for the Su-57. I mean, this was a massive moment for their aerospace industry. But they left out one tiny, crucial detail: the name of the country buying the jets. And at first, the story just kind of trickled out. You had the initial confirmation in November 2024, and then a little later, Russian officials started dropping hints that the first planes would be delivered sometime in 2025. But then, radio silence. For almost a year, it was all just speculation. And then, just recently, bam, a bombshell leak blew the whole case wide open. Now, what's interesting is that even before this big leak, the trail was already getting pretty warm. All the circumstantial evidence, the little clues here and there, they were pointing away from the usual suspects. Instead, the compass was pointing south, toward one specific region, North Africa. And one country's name just kept popping up. And that country was Algeria. Suddenly, all eyes were on them. And honestly, when you look at the facts, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, Algeria is one of Russia's oldest and most reliable military partners. They're right in the middle of this massive upgrade of their entire Air Force. And get this, they're already waiting on other top-tier Russian jets like the Su-34 fighter bomber. So yeah, the relationship is solid and it's only getting stronger. But look, educated guesses are one thing. They can only get you so far, right? The real breakthrough, the piece of evidence that changed everything, didn't come from some official press release or a grainy satellite photo. Nope, it came from the digital shadows, from a group of hackers. This breakthrough came from a hacker collective that calls itself Black Mirror. They released this whole cache of internal documents that allegedly lay out Russia's entire military export strategy for its allies. And wouldn't you know it, buried inside all that data was the exact piece of information everyone had been hunting for. So what do the files say? Well, according to the leak, the deal was for 12 Su-57E jets. That E is for the export version, which has the NATO nickname Felon. And they were all specifically earmarked for, you guessed it, the Algerian Air Force. This was it. This was the smoking gun. And this is where it gets really compelling. When you put this leaked info right next to the facts we already know, the picture gets crystal clear. The leak says 12 Su-57 stealth fighters for Algeria. Meanwhile, we already have public confirmation of a major deal for Su-34 fighter bombers going to the exact same Air Force. It fits. It really paints a clear picture of Algeria's big modernization plans, and they're doing it with Russian hardware. Okay, so we've kind of solved the mystery, right? But beyond just figuring out who done it, why does this deal actually matter? Well, it matters a lot, because putting a fifth-generation stealth fighter into North Africa, that is a massive strategic shift. You can really break down the impact into three main areas. First, for Russia, this is a huge win. It proves their top-tier jet can compete on the global market, and it brings in some crucial cash. Second, for Algeria, this is a quantum leap in air power. It could give them a serious technological edge over their neighbors. And third, for the whole region, well, this introduces a whole new level of military tech that could completely reset the balance of power for years to come. Okay. But now, we have to pump the brakes just a little bit, because as compelling as all this evidence sounds, we have to remember where it came from. This is still an unconfirmed story based on a leak. And so far, both Moscow and Algiers have been completely silent. And it's not just us saying that. The journalists who first broke down this leak, they agree. Zona Militar, the outlet that really dug into the Black Mirror documents, they explicitly said, and I'm quoting here, the leaked information should be treated with caution. So until we get an official thumbs up, this remains a highly credible theory, but a theory nonetheless. And this brings up the whole other side of the conversation, the debate around the Su-57 itself. I mean, on one hand, Russia's official line is that it's a total game changer, the best they've got. But critics have been really harsh. Some have called it a non-event plane, pointing to things you can see with your own eyes, like panel gaps, and raising serious questions about whether Russia can even build them properly without key components they used to get from the West. So, this all leaves us with one fascinating final question. Now that the blueprint for this supposedly secret deal is out in the open, all thanks to a hack, the pressure is really on. Are Moscow and Algiers going to be forced to finally confirm the sale? Or will they try to keep one of the biggest arms deals of the year buried in the shadows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.